All right, so in the 1.4 notes, we're today talking about how to evaluate algebraic expressions and equations. So all you have to do if they ever ask you to evaluate something is simply substitute in the value for the variable. So if they tell you x equals 4, anytime you see the letter x, you're going to replace it with a 4. If they tell you that x equals -1, you're going to replace all the x's with a -1. Now there's two different scenarios, right? The first scenario is when we're talking about an expression. Remember, an expression does not have an equal sign. So for example, when we look at -x² plus 2x minus 1, this would be an example of an expression because there's no equal sign here. When we talk about an equation does have an equal sign. So if we look at the square root of x plus 20, all minus 4 equals 21, notice we see an equal sign, so this would be an example of an equation. When we are working with expressions over on the left, all we are doing is plugging in the value of x into every time we see the letter x, and then we're going to get a number for our answer. When we're working with equations over on the right side here, we are going to plug in the number, right, 5 for x, and if the left side is equal to the right side and the equation is true, then the answer is yes, it is a solution. However, if the left side does not equal the right side, then it is not a solution. So let's go ahead and let's try to solve these. All right, so this expression on the left, we're evaluating this expression when x is equal to -4. Now, when I plug in this -4, I want to always use parentheses. So I'm going to take my -x² plus 2x minus 1, and anytime I see the letter x, I'm going to replace it with a -4. So I've got a minus here. I'm going to replace the x with a -4, and again, I'm using parentheses. That's squared, there's a plus, there's a 2. Now I see another letter x, so I'm going to replace that x with a -4 in parentheses, and then I see a -1. So notice I've basically rewritten this, just replacing the x's with a -4 in parentheses. And now I can simplify using order of operations. So if I take -4 squared, remember that's just like -4 written twice, right? I'm repeating that -4 twice. And we know that -4 times -4 is just positive 16. So I'm going to bring down this minus. We haven't done anything with that minus yet. So I'm going to bring down the minus. We said that -4 squared is positive 16, so I'm going to write the 16. I'm going to bring down the plus. I'm going to bring down the 2. I'm going to bring down the -4, and I'm going to bring down the -1. And actually what we could do is, because we know multiplication comes next, I can actually simplify this, right? We know that 2 times -4 is -8. All right, so we've got a -16. Now we could write plus a -8, but we know that plus a minus is just a minus. So I'm just going to get rid of that plus sign, and we're just going to put a -8. And then we have another -1. And now I only have subtraction, so I can just go ahead and subtract from left to right. So if I take -16 minus 8, that gives me -24. And then -24 minus 1 is -25. So our answer here is going to be -25. And then over here with the equation, we're looking for whether or not 5 is a solution to this equation here. So I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to plug it in for that letter x. In this case, it doesn't really matter if you use parentheses because 5 is a positive number. But in general, it's always a good practice to replace it with a parenthesis until you get really good hang of it. So I'm going to replace this x with a positive 5. And then we still have a plus 20. We have a -4 equals 21. We know that 5 plus 20 inside my radical is just 25. So the square root of 25 minus 4 equals 21. We know the square root of 25 is just 5. And by now we might be able to see that this is not true. All right, so we can go ahead and we can put a slash to that equal sign, meaning that 1 does not equal 21. And so we know that this is a false statement. 1 does not equal 21. Therefore, our answer is no. All right, 5 is not a solution to this equation.